What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza here, with a brand new video for all you horror hounds and ghouls out there. Now it is September, so we are officially into Halloween Eve. And I gotta tell you guys, it's pretty cool to see all of my friends watching a lot of cool horror flicks this time of year. So I figured what better time than now to do a little horror collection update video. So without further ado, bone apple teeth, let's get right into this. First film is a classic to me. I don't know if this would be considered a classic for horror because it's kind of more of like a science fiction, even action thriller in a weird way. But this is a good one. It's a Kevin Bacon film where him and his friend are handyman in this little tiny town, like real small town. They go to leave, make their escape, and they find out like trouble is going on around town. And the trouble happens to be these giant tremors, these huge monsters that live underneath the ground. And they're coming up, tearing up the town, killing everybody. So it's up to our heroes to return back and try to save the day. Very entertaining movie. If you've never seen this before, I'd be pretty surprised to hear that. But if not, I suggest checking this out. Do not check out the sequels. Next, Curtains. This was kind of a blind buy. I grabbed this off Amazon. The reviews seem pretty good. Pretty much, it's just a slasher where the plot is a bunch of girls are going to this giant mansion for a casting call for a role in a movie, and they got this slasher running around wearing this creepy old hag mask, just cutting everybody up, killing everybody. A classic 80s slasher that I'm excited to see, because if you guys don't know, slasher films are probably my favorite out of all the subgenres in horror. So any slasher from the 80s I'm excited to check out. Next, Maniac Cop. This is somewhat of a blind buy. I've never seen this. I was pretty much sold at Bruce Campbell, because Bruce Campbell can do no wrong. What would Bruce do? You know what I'm saying? The man, the myth, the legend. I guess in this he stars as a cop in New York City. His wife gets murdered, and he is being framed by this maniac cop, from my understanding. And he's got to go fight off this maniac cop and end his reign of terror. I'm not sure if this maniac cop is a human or some kind of other entity or whatnot, but I'm sure Bruce Campbell can take care of business and handle this. Very excited to check this out. If you've seen this before, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Next, we have Grindhouse, which is a double feature film, two full-length movies in one. It's kind of a throwback how they used to do it back in the day with two films in one. The first film is one I didn't see. I didn't see The Planet Terror, directed by Robert Rodriguez. I believe pretty much a group of people are fighting off kind of like zombie-like creatures and military militia and stuff like that. I don't remember much of that. Never seen it. I just remember this image of Rose McGowan with this gun on her leg was pretty iconic visual when this first came out. But as for the second half, I did see Death Proof, which is Quentin Tarantino's part in this double feature, starring the one and only Kurt Russell as a former stuntman, and he's got the stunt car and he's going around and crashing into these women and killing all these young women. Good throwback to like exploitation films. I really like Quentin Tarantino's part to this double feature, so I'm excited to check out Robert Rodriguez's in Planet Terror. Next, we have probably the most controversial movie I've ever bought or ever shown on this channel, and that is How to Kill a Child. Now, this is a 1970s Spanish horror film, also known as Island of the Damned, I believe. It's about an American couple. They go on to like a resort in Mexico, and when they get there, they see it's nothing but children who have been overtaken by some kind of evil spirit or entity, and they're killing all the adults. So, I mean, I don't really know what to expect from this. I just heard a lot about this in the sense of it's a staple to horror that I need to check it out. It's kind of like the originator when it comes to like horror films where the children are the killers. So let's just hope this doesn't get too wild. You never know with a foreign film, especially one made in the 70s. But I'm going to check this out sooner than later. I'll let you guys know what I think right when I watch this one. Next we got is another film I haven't seen. This is Trick or Treat. I've seen parts of this, I feel. I definitely recognize this little guy in the cover. You guys seem to really like him. But, I mean, while we're on that, look at this artwork on this cover. Now, I don't know if you guys that collect horror are too familiar with like Scream Factory, but they are the #1 company that releases a lot of these horror films. They do a lot of like re-releases on Blu Ray. They do great work. Down, like I said, down to the artwork on the slipcover, 2 discs, all these special features. I'm really excited to check this one out. It's kind of like an anthology film, if I'm correct. Kind of like Tales from the Crypt or Creep Show. So yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. Very excited to check this out in the very near future. I actually might even watch this tonight. Next, we got Fright Night. Classic. I seen this for the first time maybe 4 years ago, around there. Really good. It's pretty much about this kid who lives in the suburbs and his new neighbor that moves in. Everybody really likes him, a charming guy. But this kid just sees something in this dude that isn't right. You know what I mean? So he's got suspicions until he finally investigates a little bit and finds out the man is a vampire. And then he tells everybody. They obviously don't believe him. So he's got to gear up with his own little squad and try to take out this vampire. And this movie is really good, a really fun watch. It's got one of the most brutal like transformation scenes like later on, like really crazy body horror towards the end. But overall, this is a really fun movie. This is like vintage 80s. Like, you know, if you like 80s movies, this is 80s all the way. Highly suggest this one. And also, I want to add that I may not have much detail about a lot of these movies, and I apologize for that, but this latest stack that I picked up, I kind of was like trying to find a lot of horror films that I've never seen before, especially ones that are kind of considered cult classics or whatnot. I want to check a lot of these films out and see for myself, add them to my collection, you know. So, like I said, if I don't have a lot to describe these films, I apologize. Just like this one, I don't know much to say about this. Society, this is a Arrow release, Arrow Video, which is another great company that releases horror films. Cool little cover here, a lot of special features. From my understanding, this is about a kid who is a rich kid from Bel Air, I believe, who doesn't feel like he fits in society and feels there's something kind of fishy about the upper class that he's been raised in. And honestly, that's all I really know about this movie, besides there's a lot of like fun little twists on society itself, you know, a lot of like back meaning and stuff. I don't know. But pretty much this is known for having one of the most like crazy endings to a horror film. Some really crazy like body horror at the end. And I'm really excited to check that out. So not sure when I'm going to watch this one. I got a handful I want to see first. But yeah, this looks pretty gruesome, looks pretty wild. You know, and all the subconscious stuff said about society or whatever. You know, you guys know what the fuck I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Whatever. Should be good. Then we got Night of the Creeps, which is pretty much about, I believe, this kid who is bitten by like an alien and he gets frozen. They unfreeze him like 30 years later in the 80s, and then he starts attacking other people, and it kind of like spreads like a virus, like a zombie kind of thing. Like I said, another blind buy. I don't know much about this. It's supposed to be kind of a throwback to old horror movies, like 50s or 60s. I'm pretty excited to check this one out too. Then I got Monster Squad, which is a film I had no idea even existed until John Campbell mentioned it just briefly like 2 years ago. And from what I get from this, it's pretty much kind of like the Goonies almost, where all these universal monsters come back: Dracula, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monster, and the Mummy. And I guess they're kind of looking for like this amulet or this jewel that will give them power to take over the world. And it's up to these kids here, the Monster Squad, who are this little like gang of kids who protect their suburban neighborhood, to stop the Monster Squad and save the world. Like I said, never heard of this. I'm kind of getting some Goonies vibes from it. But, you know, I'm pretty excited to check this out. It looks pretty good. A lot of these monsters look pretty rad on here. And, you know, and then to say it again, pretty cool artwork on the cover. Excited to check this out. Then the last pickup I got is a movie I checked out 3 days ago. I watched this one. And this is Clive Barker's Nightbreed. Now, I'm not the biggest, like, fan of these fantasy kind of horror films. Like I mentioned earlier, I prefer slasher films. But this was fucking crazy. Clive Barker, you are a madman for the type of stuff you think up of. In a nutshell, I'll tell you guys a little bit about it because I honestly plan on doing a classic horror review about this one next, actually, because it was that crazy. I got to get into depth about this one. But in a nutshell, it's about this guy named Boone who is having these nightmares about this monster world with all these creatures in this place called the Midian, which is a spot where like souls go before they go to heaven or hell or whatnot. But anyways, the guy gets framed for murder. He's trying to run from the cops, so he figures the best place to go is the Midian. And this movie is crazy. Gets absolutely insane. And this is another Scream Factory release, 2-disc set. So I actually watched the director's cut, which had 40 more minutes of footage. So my version of what I've seen, it might be a lot different from like the theatrical version, but overall this movie was absolutely nuts. I would suggest watching this. Like I said, a classic horror review will be coming of this one very soon. Stay tuned. And yeah, that is pretty much the haul. 11 movies in total. Let me know if you guys want me to watch any of these first. Some of the ones I said I haven't seen yet, if you're interested in any of these. If you have any suggestions on films I should check out for this Halloween season, let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you guys' comments, all your input, all your support. And just a quick update on everything else. I got more of the reviews coming up. I got a new cruise control I'm probably going to film this weekend on a wrestling trip I have. And other than that, I'm looking to pick it up a little bit in this Halloween season, getting it while you can. But other than that, like I said, I really appreciate all the support you guys are giving me. I hope you guys are having fun with this. I'm having a lot of fun. Like, comment, subscribe. Blood, guts, gore. I'll see you guys next time.